Hi everyone, welcome back to Rona is Reading. Today we're going to be going through my personal book bingo from last year and my 2026 one. Yeah, let's jump in. I did a personal book bingo for myself this year. I was able to fully complete it, which is kind of cool. I was not sure that I would be able to at the start of the year. The first prompt was books set in 5 different real-world countries. We've got England, the US, Spain, Japan, France, published in 2025. That's The House of My Mother. A genre I don't usually read in. I added a comic book here. A book that's been on my TBR for the longest was Republic of Thieves. I have the physical copy of that. It's been on my shelf for ages. At least 12 books by people of color. I'm discontinuing this category next year just so that I can make sure I'm reading like across the board books by people of color. But I did end up filling this up and more. Scrolling through. A book with a one-word title. I added Sword Crossed. Yes, this is one word. Just trust me, bro. Book over 700 pages. I also did Republic of Thieves for that, which is technically cheating, I think. I could change this to Way of Kings. A book that bends genres. I added Blackheart Nights, which is a cyberpunk King Arthur retelling. Book by a black trans woman. I read C.C. Telfer's memoir, Make It Count. I finished the first trilogy of Heralds of Valdemar. It was alright. Then I did at least 12 nonfiction books. Again, this is a one per month. I ended up exceeding this because I read a lot of nonfiction graphic novels. You can see below what I read. A book where journeying or travel is the primary focus. This is another Heralds of Valdemar book. For my free space, favorite book of the year, I actually need to change this to The Raven Scholar. I think that wins. A book recommended by a friend. My pal Gwen recommended Land of the Lustrous to me, so I added that. A book I annotated. I didn't annotate The Hobbit, but I did write journal entries about it, so I counted it for that. Reread of a past favorite. I read The Dispossessed for book club. Book with a gender fluid and aro ace character, which is my gender sexual identity. I read No More Heroes. This was a hard category to find a good book in. A book from a readathon or community event. I read Most Ardently for the Trans Rights Readathon and for book club, so kind of a double up. Queer history book. I read Our Work is Everywhere. Book about the natural world. Gorilla Green was about urban gardening. A memoir. I read The Risk It Takes to Bloom. This was good. A new to me fantasy subgenre. This was kind of a magical realism memoir type thing. I don't know, the author had some very specific genre name, so I put it for this. A book where resilience is a major theme. Very necessary for 2025. I added The Martian by Andy Weir. Book with purple text on the cover. It's right there. It's kind of magenta-y. We're counting it as purple. Eros and Psyche. A book that I've had on pause. I added Animorph Summer 26. I didn't necessarily have this specific book on pause, but I did have this series on pause because I was procrastinating. And then for my bonus prompts, I have a short story collection. I read this fairy tale collection by Clara Enclasa. A book that I read for story research. I read Ignition, Lighting Fires in a Burning World. And then my last bonus least favorite book of the year was Fire by Kristen Cashore. With that all done, I added my reading bingo for 2026. There is a link to join down below, as well as a physical bingo card version. If you want to follow along or join on Storygraph, you are absolutely welcome to. Yeah, this is basically, it's mostly personal to get myself out of my comfort zone based on my reading goals. I personally try not to use a book for more than one prompt, but there's no rule against doing that. Like I say in this description, the goal is motivation, not gatekeeping. On top of these prompts, I'm also personally going to focus on reading authors of color and queer authors this year, and didn't put many quotas on that because I would like them to be for all categories rather than being confined to their own section. Alright, the challenge prompts 5 books that I already own. This is to kind of cut down on some of the unread books that I have just haunting my shelves. A reread. I will definitely fill this up pretty quickly. A book about a systemic problem. This can be fiction or nonfiction, a book published in 2026, and a book published in 1926. I thought that would be an interesting contrast. I've already finished this prompt, a book in translation. I didn't count manga for this. You absolutely can. Book with green and gold on the cover, a nonfiction book about immigration, a book about internet culture, a book featuring or containing a queer platonic relationship. I'm trying to find one where it's acknowledged on page. I don't know how hard that's going to be. This seems easier than last year's personal identity prompt, but who knows. A book that I read for story research, or if you're doing this and you're not a writer, for a project or about a loved one, an essay collection. The free space, of course, is always your favorite book of the year. You are going to have one if you read one book. The next space is published after 2016 and is facing or has faced a book ban. The after 2016 bit is just to make sure we're supporting small authors, not the main high-profile classics that usually get banned, because those are doing fine. The next prompt is for a community event, like a readathon or a book club or even a buddy read. The next is recommended by a friend. This is returning this year. I think it's a very fun prompt. Then finish a series. I personally need to work on doing this. I really like to take literally full years between series installments, and it doesn't actually help me finish anything. The next one is by a queer Black woman. If they are non-binary or don't identify as a woman, don't add them. The next is a new to you subgenre. I have no idea what I'm gonna add for this year. I always have to do some research for this one. The next is self or indie published. This probably will end up being a graphic novel for me. There's a lot of good indie published graphic novels out there. The next prompt is own voices about disability. That could be physical disability, neurodiversity, anything. It just has to be own voices. Could be nonfiction or fiction. This next prompt is another cover design one with someone's photograph on the cover. Fiction books with like photographs of models on the cover do count. Featured or mentioned in a video essay or other long-form analytical review. And then these last two are the at least 12s. At least 12 nonfiction books. This is returning again from last year. And then at least 12 books that you want to give your full attention to. Not that I don't pay attention when I'm reading, but these are the books that I'm gonna be like 100% locked in, taking notes or annotating, or just like paying attention to them thematically for. And whatever that means for you, go for it. And then for my bonus prompts, I have, again, least favorite book of the year. I want to read another poetry collection this year because I really enjoyed the one I read last year. Next bonus prompt is a comp title to a story you're writing, or if you don't write, a comp title to your favorite book. Maybe find a new favorite. Comp title essentially just means something that's in a similar vein. Another cover design one. Something with a monochrome color. It doesn't have to be black and white. It could be like shades of yellow or shades of green or something. The last bonus is, a book that doesn't fit any of these prompts, because you will have one. It will annoy you. At least I did last year. I don't remember what book it was though. Don't ask me. And that's that. Those are my lofty goals for my reading in 2026. Fingers crossed. I definitely will get at least some of them. I feel really good about my reading habits and my reading goals for this year, but you absolutely never know. I thought last year was going to be my year, and then I couldn't focus on like a book over 300 pages for multiple months, so here we are, trying to break that habit. Thank you for watching. Be sure to leave a like below and comment what your personal reading goals for next year are. They absolutely do not need to be as in-depth as mine are. I know myself. I know I will read this amount, so that's why they're this intense. I will see you back here next time. Bye-bye.